Now, tonight we have a special speaker, and we really want to cover some of the key things about our product. So we're going to go over this 12-week journey where we're going to learn about all different aspects of the business, okay? Tonight, it's all about, and the key point is the Zenzino Balance Store and the dry blood test, or the Zenzino Balance Test. My key verbiage as I hand it over to Dr. Abraham is we at Zenzino hold the omega-3 industry accountable for the inferior products they sell on a daily basis to consumers or customers around the world. I want Dr. Abraham to actually show to you or validate to you why the balanced oil is so powerful and why people around the world are seeing so many amazing results with it. Dr. Abraham, can I ask you to take over the presentation for about 20 minutes and absolutely share with these people this great presentation you've got prepared tonight. Thanks, Dr. Abraham.
Thank you, Robert, and good evening to everyone. It's evening here, and it's the same in the Philippines, except in other areas. Good day to you. Today, I have a few slides prepared to give you an idea of our main products, Zenzino Balance Oil, which is unmatched in the market. But when we talk about it, we have to be very careful and make sure that we position this product in the correct way. There's a lot of ground to cover today, and we have very limited time. So I'm going to do literally a hop, step, and jump. Now, we must be a little careful how to place the products. Please ensure that you tell whoever you are speaking to, the basic things in life to promote health would be oxygen, water, what you eat, and how you lead your life. Now, oxygen is free, but it's extremely important. And make sure that you breathe a little bit more, drink a little bit more water, and that goes a very long way. Just to give you a ballpark figure, these are extremely important. Oxygen, 5 minutes, you're gone. Water, without which maybe you'll survive for about 5 days. I'm giving you ballpark figures that you can remember. 5 minutes, 5 days, no food for 50 days, and you may reach a point of no return. Lifestyle is entirely within your control. Try and get the best out of it. Now, when you take away oxygen and water, the diet and lifestyle between these two, experts say diet contributes about 70% to your health and longevity. Now, that's quite a bit. So we'll look at the diet. Now, when you look at the diet, the countries and civilizations around the globe eat different types of food, but you will notice a basic pattern. They take basically some type of grain, add some vegetables, some fruits, and most ethnic groups take either animal products or animal products plus animal produce. Now, the last one is basically something that they take intermittently, following seasonal changes, illnesses, delivery or childbirth, recovering from a serious illness. This seasonal preparations, according to the technology available, was just soups or broth, nothing else. Soups or broth of vegetable or animal parts. Now, this was the origin of what we would today call supplements. Oops. Sorry. Okay. If you break down the food substances that they are taking, you will notice that we are beginning to recognize the actual nutrient that we are taking. One section is we take very large amounts, both for satiety and requirements, and therefore we call it macro. And thanks to the advancement of physics, engineering, biomedical engineering, we are now able to detect substances in the food up to 1 part in 1 billion. So we are able to identify nutrients that we require in very small amounts. For example, the minerals. Of course, we all remember the calcium and the magnesium, they come as 1000 milligrams, 400 or 500. But take something like selenium, we require less than 100 micrograms. So anything which is below 100 milligrams are classified as micronutrients. For today's purpose, we are going to focus on fats. Let me remind ourselves again that in the modern world, protein, fat, and carbohydrates seem to be in little excess. So have your protein, make sure you get good quality protein. I think everyone can cut down on the carbohydrates, especially in Southeast Asia. Now, when it comes to fat, the picture is a little different, and let's look at it. Now, there are three groups or types of fats. The classification is such that they call them saturated, unsaturated, or trans fats. Now, you may have read that fats are basically at the molecular level carbon chains, just carbon. Now, carbon has 4 arms. If something is attached to each of the 4 arms, then that chain is called saturated fat. If any of those arms are unfulfilled and therefore it gets attached to something by using 2 arms, then it is called unsaturated fats. This is the biochemistry behind it. But in actual fact, if you feel the fat, the saturated fats feel a little viscous, unsaturated fats bit thinner to the feel. Saturated fats, mainly animal fats. We can trust nature to give us exceptions. There are also vegetable origin of saturated fats, like coconut oil, avocado, and so on. Now, the unsaturated fats are mainly from seeds and vegetables. Of course, they go on to classify that to mono and polyunsaturated. Now, the third major group is trans fats. We are not in a position to take a stand at the moment. Research is still ongoing. Very small amounts of natural trans fats are found in animal meat. And there was initial excitement some 20 years ago that this can actually help to reduce body fat. That didn't work out. But most of the trans fats today are in processed food preparations. And many countries have banned the use of trans fats in food production because it is harmful. Now, our body requires many types of fats. A lot of it is used in our hormones. They are used in 2 groups, stress hormones and sex hormones. When you look at the number of hormones, it's about 150. Only 20 to 25% are stress and sex hormones, numbers. But when you look at the amount that is produced by the body, these 2 groups, stress hormones and sex hormones, take up something like 80% of the amount. So fat is a major component in that, and we require this. Almost any type of fat that the body needs is synthesized from our consumption of ingested fats. And if you are one of those who are very careful with fats, the body could convert some carbohydrate into fats. And in the extreme case of starvation, you're not getting ingested fats, carbohydrates, or anything else, the body will start using your muscular tissue, break down the protein, and will get the fat from that. Okay. Now, so the body does produce all kinds of fats. However, there are 2 types that the body does not synthesize. It is not limited to fats alone. You take vitamin C, certain animals can synthesize vitamin C for themselves. However, for example, we don't, and we have to get it as a source from our diet. So that becomes an essential vitamin. And therefore here, when it comes to fat, we have the same situation. We call them essential fatty acids because it has to be in the diet. Again, the label is very biochemistry oriented. The first one is omega-3. The second one is omega-6. These two are not found or cannot be synthesized in the body, and therefore we must consume it. And we find that not only is it essential, it is best if it is consumed in a particular ratio. If this ratio is not followed, you get more damage. Now, looking at the numbers here, but to put it in words, for every 3 parts of omega-6, we need 1 part of omega-3. That's the balance that is recommended. What is it needed for? Now, I mentioned hormones. The other thing is the structure of the cell. A healthy cell membrane is extremely important. We have 37 trillion cells in the body. This is the current estimate, and it is a crowded place. You need to be in touch with the neighboring cells. You need to accommodate them. However, you maintain your shape, integrity, and the fluid nature of the cell. The cell membrane is 50% fat. The other 50% is protein. And in this 50%, something like 30% is cholesterol, and the rest is omega-3 and 6 fatty acids. Why is a cell membrane that important? In addition to maintaining the shape, integrity, the fluidity of the cell, it must be in a position to admit the appropriate nutrients into the cell and allow waste matter to leave it. It's extremely important for survival. Okay, and the cell membrane has to be tough. A small rupture or a break or a puncture, that cell would die because the internal contents would just pour out. Okay, now here's a diagram of a very simplified human cell. You will notice that it is all cells are 3-dimensional. When we look at them in the textbook, it looks flat. No, all cells are 3-dimensional. And what I wanted to highlight here is the cell membrane, this green margin that you see here. It's a double-layered thing, and this controls quite a bit of the activities which makes the cells thrive, and they require omega-3 and 6. So if all cells require that, all systems in the body are affected by the lack of it. To highlight the membrane here, this membrane is actually a blow-up of this green thing that you see here. Cytologists tell us that a cell is more complicated than a spaceship. And here we are looking at only the membrane. 2-layered, these are gateways, and these gateways keep changing. It is not constant. That's how complex it is. Now, when we look at our modern diet, we get one essential oil, not only in the amounts that we need, in fact, in excessive amounts. Why? Because over the last 60 years or so, cooking has been influenced by the use of seed and vegetable oils. They are cheaper. You can keep it on the shelf longer. And so all cooking oils, most of it at least, we have turned towards seed and vegetable oils, and they are loaded with omega-6. In other words, we not only get enough of it, much of it. On the other side, the omega-3 content in our food has gone down over the last 30 years. Broadly, it has been estimated that out of the 8 billion people in the globe today, something like 6 billion lack adequate amounts of omega-3. Now, here in the tropical countries, the fish do not have much fat, and so we do not have much omega-3 here. Even those of you who have excess, or you can get fatty fish on a regular basis, and even if you're a fish lover, I don't think you want to eat fish every day. not to mention the pollution in the seas. And these pollutants are normally stored in the fat of the fish. Now, what is the problem if you have excessive omega-6? Omega-6 is the main agent for putting up a fight against any foreign substance that comes into the body, whether it is pollution, biological material like viruses, bacteria, and so on. Omega-3 is the one that controls or holds back omega-6 being too aggressive. Why is that? Omega-6 causes inflammation in the body, a process that is necessary for this fight against foreign substances. If left unchecked after it has done the job, the inflammation process can carry on, and long-term, it produces or is connected to the cause of many of our degenerative diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, heart disease, arthritis, and even cancer. Okay. So what do we do? How do we balance it? Balance it to the point where we enjoy the optimal health. Now, the first thing would be to reduce omega-6 consumption. We are consuming way more than we need. So be careful with food that is fried or where there's a lot of oil that is used. Try to cut that down. Now, the other thing would be to consume omega-3. Since we can't get it from our foods, there is no problem in consuming a supplement. Okay, supplements of omega-3 are in the market. They have to be approved by governments. They are purified, refined to the point that there are no pollutants. The exact amounts that you consume are listed there. So it's a very good source of that. The moment we say omega-3 supplement, a number of questions come into our mind. Which one to choose? There's so many. You walk into a pharmacy, you could get a little confused. You find that your 100 soft gels of one brand is so many dollars, and 100 soft gels of another brand is only half the price. Now, the way to choose it is make sure that you're getting enough of the ingredients in omega-3, EPA, DHA content. The price actually will vary according to this amount. So the first line may say soft gel 1,200 milligrams. But if you look further down, the important thing is what is the total amount of EPA and DHA? Okay, you need to check that first. Now, the last two, how do we know it's working and how can we choose one that really works? Before that, just a few touch up on the requirements. The current requirement seems to be a total of 1,000 milligrams when DHA, EPA are combined. Many authorities will say 500 is enough. Some go on to 1,500. As you see, this is a food supplement. It varies. Some people eat more food. Some people eat less food. The omega-3 requirement by the body also varies. Age, your activity, professional sports, teenagers who are growing up, expectant mothers whose requirements are also high, and so on and so forth. So, an starting point with an average of 1,000 is not only easy to remember, but can easily cover for all your needs. Now, it has been found that omega-3 doesn't do much benefit if taken alone. In nature, we find these fatty acids always existing with antioxidants side by side. Now, what happens is when we process this fish oil to satisfy the requirements of the governments of the day, you have to clear out everything. And in that process of eliminating all the heavy metals and chemicals that may be there, we also get rid of antioxidants that leaves. So when you take only the oil, the absorption is reduced drastically, and it may not provide the effect that you are expecting. Okay, so you need to check that out. Now, the third thing, an oil is not going to be pleasant for most people. What you can do is, if the oil is tolerable, that's good enough. Now, Zinzino oil, we have added some natural taste to it, lemon, and so on, orange taste. So it doesn't give you an orangey taste, but it blunts the taste of the oil. Now, the last one by which we can confirm that what you're taking works is testing omega oil content in your blood. Just to give you a picture, those of you who may not have seen, and I'm sure most of you have seen. Now, it's a plastic bottle. It's dark in color to make sure light doesn't get in to make the oil rancid, so it lasts longer. If you happen to have a bottle whose expiry date is done, usually it's worth another year. Not to worry. You've bought the product, you have been missing it, and then you see the expiry date and you wonder you can take it. Up to a year, it should be okay. Now, the main areas that it supports the whole body, by the way. When you support the cell membrane, the cells go to form tissues to organs, organ to systems. The whole body is supported. The ones that you can make out quite obviously would be the brain function. You will find that brain fog clears, and mental is not that bad. Now, normal heart function, to throw statistics, a lot of studies have been done. Some say it helps, some say it doesn't help. Now, I would like to approach it from the back end. Statistics show that those who come in can die of a heart attack, major heart attack, taken to the emergency department, and the patient dies. 75% of them have lack of omega-3 and an excess of omega-6. Okay? Now, King Zinzino requirement product, we have 2 servings, recommended servings. This is a supplement, not a drug. We don't call it dosage, we call it servings. Now, the numbers are very tight, but in practice, I normally say half a tablespoon and almost 1 tablespoon. I find that people find it easier to follow those instructions instead of following 7.5 and ml. Now, with the lower servings, you will notice that our EPA, DHA already exceed 1,000 milligrams. So if you go for the higher serving, you are getting more than enough of EPA, DHA on a daily basis. We actually expect you to take this because you have to go through the process of absorption, utilize, incorporating into the cell, and also making up for deficits that you may have accumulated. Okay. In addition to that, we have also added vitamin D3 in different doses. Now, polyphenols, this is the key to the whole thing. A product that is unmatched in the market is because of this polyphenols. Polyphenols are a group of antioxidants extracted from extra virgin olive oil. What's so special about that? Anybody can do that? No. Zinzino has a patented or a proprietary blend, the way it combines polyphenols with the omega-3 that gives you the best absorption. Now, this is a claim that's testable. Now, polyphenols are extracted from olive oil. Olive oil has a major component called omega-9, which you may not need so much because the body can synthesize omega-9. At the same time, it doesn't synthesize as much as it should. So here is a healthy oil, an extra thing, omega-9, along with the preparation. Okay, now, next slide. So I mentioned about the tests. Now, here is a test kit that can show whether it is working in the body, whether this product is actually being used up by the body. Now, lab testing for nutrients started almost 100 years ago. Back then, it was they tested the liquid part of the blood. We have about 5.5 liters of blood, and it is 55% liquid. We call that serum, and about 45% solids, most of it red blood cells. It also includes white blood cells, platelets, and so on. Now, this test tests the content in the cell membrane of the red blood cell. Our 5.5 liters of blood circulate the body every minute. So you can say in a way that it is pretty much a representative of the cell membrane content of most of the cells in the body. What you need is just 2 drops of blood onto a blotting paper, which absorbs the liquid and leaves behind the red blood cells. And we can send this to a private lab, not Zinzino lab. It's a private lab called Vitas in Norway, a lab that is used by WHO, also one of the labs around the world. Now, this lab is owned by a scientist himself, and it is located in a science park. Now, what do we mean by that? There are many other scientific institutions there, and this frequent interaction between this lab and the research that goes on in these areas, in these universities, they collaborate to create a very advanced algorithm to measure this blood fat levels. And we'll go on to the test to see how that value is passed on to you. Now, when the tests come, we have 2 parts to the test. One part is the quantitative part, the actual amount of fatty acids present, the amount. The second part is a qualitative part, okay? So let's start with the first part. Now here there are 2 major fats that need not be tested because the product is basically to make sure that you get enough omega-3. But this is done also to help you understand more about your health levels. Now, saturated fat, there are 2 types of fatty acids. Omega-9 is a single one, and this is how it's stacked up. The first column is where you should be. Second column is where you are. The third and fourth columns show the difference between the first and the second column in amount and in percentage. And I would say that the fourth column is more reliable in the sense it highlights the actual efficiency. So where you should be, where you are, and the difference. So this is fatty acid, saturated fatty acid, and omega-9. This is the part that is very important. You will notice that omega-6, omega-3 has 4 different fatty acids. In fact, 6 and 3 are a family of fatty acids. And we give you a breakdown here. Again, where you should be, where you are, and the difference. Okay, this is the quantitative part. Now, when you come to the qualitative part, many people would like to read this test with figures, colors, and in a way that's easily understood, or it jumps at you when you see it. So here, the ratio of omega-6 to 3 is given a big space because that is the very first thing that we are looking for. The color coding comes as red, which is bad, yellow, which is inadequate, and green, which is adequate, enough, okay? So these are the algorithms, you can say, of measurements for the quality. Now, we also put it in bar diagram to make it even easier. For example, this person should be here, but this person, this value is right down here in the red. And exactly where in the red? Because you could be just here, or even worse, like this. Red is a little better than this. So, like this, for example, omega-3 balance, this ratio is bad, but when you look at the protection value, it seems even worse. So these are visuals to help you understand the test results. And if you want to know exactly how this percentages, you will notice that the numbers given here percentages given here are different for different readings. Understand that if you click on this, when you get the results, it will take you to another page and give you all the details for calculation. Now, having said that, I must say something about this particular bar, arachidonic index. You will notice it's got a red on both ends. Having too little is bad. Having too much is also bad. You would remember that I mentioned about omega-6 being an inflammatory agent. Now, in the family of 4 fatty acids in omega-6, this particular one is very in promoting inflammation. And we do not want to have too much of this. Okay, so we'd like to be somewhere in the middle. Not at one end we are low and the other end which is too high. Okay. Now, I'm going to wrap up. My suggestion would be anyone who's coming in newly, please get tested. You may be taking omega-3 oils, some other brand, get tested for 2 reasons. One, you know exactly whether it's working or not. If not, then you could switch to Zinzino oil. Now you may find, and this is what we noticed, the other oils do work. They are better, the levels are better than people who don't take oil, omega-3 oil, but they don't come near to the 3:1 ratio. Okay, so get tested, take the balance oil, and I will understand if you want to check it at 90 days or 100 days. 120 may be a bit too long. At least in this part of the world, people are not that patient. And we noticed this, even those who tested it in 60 days, that's 2 months, we noticed a clear-cut improvement in the levels of omega-3 and the betterment of ratio. Okay, so get tested, take balance oil, retest anywhere between 60 to 120 days. Thank you.
Fantastic, Dr. Abraham. Again, thank you so much for that great informative information. It just, what it does, it just helps us understand, and I call it the basics of what we're talking about, understanding where things are really moving, okay, in the scheme of everything, and knowing that, you know, things are really moving in the right direction with science. And the good thing, in my opinion, is that we know, okay, we absolutely know, okay, that, okay, we absolutely know that Zinzino is categorically on the right track, absolutely on the right track to having the technology, the science, and the product formulations of this incredible industry called the omega oil or the essential fatty acids. So it's just great to get the repetitive of where and what's happening in the beginning, and then the solution is the balanced oil. But if you want proof defeats doubts, take the balanced test. Like I always say, guys, and I started with this at the beginning, we here at Zinzino hold the omega-3 industry accountable for the inferior products they sell on a daily basis. As Dr. Abraham just said, okay, they work. Yes, they work. But if you're happy with 10 to 1, 6 to 1, 15 to 1, they're working. But the WHO, the World Health Authority, and also science says you should be 2 or 3 to 1 with your omega ratios. If you can get between those 2 ratios, you are in the sweet spot in your cellular structure, rebuilding, reduplicating a cell that will be happy, which then makes your whole entire body happy as well. Dr. Abraham, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you on the call again. In about 6 weeks, we're going to bring Doc Abraham back again. Just again, this is the checkup from the neck up. This is, you know, we could talk a lot of science, guys, and we could talk about diabetes, we could talk about cancer, how Dr. Abraham's hair grew back, how my hair grew back, okay? We can't, okay? We are compelled by the regulatory authorities not to talk about things like that. Do your own research. Let Mr. Google be your helping hand. Omega, diabetes. Omega, pregnancy. Omega, arthritis. Omega, there is so much double-blind studies on products that are out there, or omegas. Now, we've already told you that those omegas work in your body, 10-to-1 ratio. But if you can get the gold standard, into your body, and then take a test to prove you come down to 3-to-1, then you know you're on the best oil, the best balanced oil in the world. That's my recommendation. So we here at Zenzino, we can't make product claims. We don't make product claims, but just be a little bit smart about it. Just get a little bit smart and do the right things to get the technology answers or technical answers you're looking for. Dr. Abraham sits on the medical advisory board. He signed a document. He cannot make medical claims. Okay. We are doing, Dr. Abraham, a lot of double-blind studies right now with Dr. Paul and all the scientists around the world. There's a lot of great data coming, but right now you just got to be a little bit smart and go and look at what else is happening in the world. Then put the Zenzino brand beside it. But the key difference is put the test in there, and that will give the proof defeats doubt. All right, guys, thank you so much. Next week, we've got Hugo Olsen. So another great week coming up next Thursday. So I look forward to seeing everybody on the call again. Get this message out. Get these recordings out to your people. Get your teams to listen to them. There's now 5. Dr. Abraham's week 5. Get the information out to your teams. This is great basic learning materials. Thanks, Dr. Abraham. Appreciate you truly. Appreciate everybody else around the world. Look forward to seeing you guys real soon. Take care. God bless. Thanks, guys.